In today's video, we're going to talk about entity names and why it's so important to keep entity names consistent across all properties and all mentions of your brand across the web, and what can happen when you have notable citations that have your brand name or your entity name incorrect, and how it can affect your position in organic search. My name is John Locke. My business is Lockedown SEO, and every day I help manufacturing and industrial companies navigate the world of search engine optimization. Why I'm making this video today. So a couple instances of people changing their entity name, their brand name in authoritative places has caused them to have unstable effects in organic search rankings and other features that are within Google search. And I wanted to address this because I see people make this mistake sometimes, and I've actually gone through the process of changing my entity name not once but twice. And basically what I'm talking about with the entity name or the brand name is Google perceiving your organization, your company, your place of business. The name that it holds is basically an object, an entity in Google's knowledge graph. And we have a video on the knowledge graph and what that is in our video library. But suffice it to say, when you type in your business name, you expect to see it there in the sidebar in search or at the top on mobile in your Google My Business listing. And Google looks for consistency in these objects, these things, these organizations, these persons, places, shows, movies, or podcasts out there. They expect the name to be the same all across the web, or they lose understanding of what it is. Now, I heard this explained earlier this week. Back in the day, 20 years ago, Google would just look at words on a page and it would not necessarily understand or assign meaning to these different words. So like Acme Products Incorporated, let's say that that's your brand name. That would just be a string of words connected to one another. But nowadays, Google has this knowledge graph of meaning that is assigns to these different things, entities, which can include organizations. It collects this information not only from Google My Business and your website, and it makes these connections, but also from other places around the web, like the social media profiles that you have, links from other websites that mention your brand by name. Those all contribute to Google's understanding of your business. Now, on a local business aspect, when it comes to local search, a long time ago, our name used to be Lockdown Design. That's what we started as. As we pivoted to SEO around 2018, we changed the name to Lockdown Design and SEO. And then we created a new LLC, which is Lockdown SEO. But each time that we made this change, we're trying to change the name in all the major places. There is still cleanup that I'm doing on this, but it's important to get it correct in all the major places, like Google My Business, social profiles, and then all your industry sites, all the places where you're listed as an industry, and make sure that your name is mentioned correctly. Or again, Google sometimes thinks that they're two different things, or it gets confused, or it's unsure. And this also extends to NAPW citations, name, address, phone, and website being consistent across all the mentions on the web. The name of the brand or the company or the organization is the same. The website, the address, and the phone number are all consistent. That's when it comes to local SEO and ranking within a region or a local market. Now, when it comes to other types of entities, such as podcasts, wink, wink, I have seen a couple podcasts out there that have tried to change their name in order to put more keywords into the title. In the process of doing so, it has confused Google's carousel of podcasts. Now in these examples that I've seen, if you Google podcasts and then the category that they're in, there's a carousel of different podcasts at the top of the search page. I think that people were trying to game the system and get higher in Apple podcasts or the Apple iTunes rankings of this certain category of podcasts. And so they added keywords to the name, or in one instance, I know the person changed the name of the podcast as it appeared in their podcast feed. Now, the thing with podcast feeds is those push out to all different places. So if you change the name of your podcast in the source feed, it goes out to all the places like iTunes and Google Podcasts and everywhere else with that new name. Now, the problem arises when you have all these other sites that are mentioning you and linking to you, and your social media profiles are all have your old podcast name, and your main feed has a completely different name that is stuffed full of keywords. As a result, these two podcasts that I'm mentioning, they are no longer, as of right now, appearing in the Google carousel of their categories of podcasts. The reason is it's not their link profile. Their link profiles are very strong. They're mentioned in all the lists of these are the podcasts to listen to in this category. Their websites are strong. They're full of content. It's simply because they changed the name of their entity in the main authoritative feed, and now it pushed out to all the different feeds, all the different places that list podcasts like Stitcher and iTunes and everywhere else, and Google is confused. Google no longer is sure about this entity, what it's called, because it assigned all this meaning to this previous name. And again, this is a thing, and yes, I need to practice this. I have a lot of third-tier citations that I still need to change my name on. But on all the major ones, yes, my website, my Google My Business, my Yelp, my listing on Clutch and Upcity and everywhere else has Lockdown SEO. And that way Google is not confused about the entity that I am. So just to say, be very cautious when you're changing a name of a company, or you're changing the name of a creative work, an ongoing serialized creative work. Also, as a side note, be careful when you're changing your social media links as well, your social media profiles. If possible, when you're making changes to your social media profiles for your entity, your brand name, whatever it is, your organization or serialized creative work, make sure that those social media links are changed everywhere possible as well. Otherwise, Google loses confidence in what your entity is about. Okay, so instances in which changing an organization's name or an entity's name might come about. If you sell a business, if you sell either a company, a physical location, a website, a blog, a podcast, or anything similar to that, which Google might recognize as a thing, an encapsulated entity, if you change the name, then change it everywhere that it is possible to change it. Even if you have to get a list of all the places where you are being linked to and try and get people to change that name where the link is, that would be best. Obviously, change it on your Google My Business, on your website, and anywhere else that might have a ton of authority, such as third-party sites that are linking to you, anywhere that has authority within your industry. Get that link, get that name, that brand mention changed to where Google does not have that period of confusion. Now, if you want to understand more about how Google perceives entities and how it interprets different information in a page, go back and watch our video on our YouTube channel called Understanding the Natural Language API. And then when you've watched that, go ahead and watch our video, What is the Knowledge Graph in Google? And watch those two videos and then pair it up with this one, and you will have a better understanding of how Google parses data, how it assigns meaning to different things, and determines what is an entity based on the evidence that it is collecting from around the web, and how it gains confidence that a organization, a creative work, a brand name, a person, place, thing, or anything else is what it says it is. That's all I have for now. If you got value from this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. My name is John Locke. Business is Lockdown SEO. And that's all I have for now. Until next time, peace.